the third floor here at beautiful Belmont Park. We are off and running on MSG Plus, and this latest edition, the first of summertime on the National Racing Report. Father's Day weekend, a thing of the past, and we're glad you're with us as we get off and running from the starting gate. Jason Blewitt, Andy Serling, Richard Migliore. Kind of a post-Belmont lull, to be fair about it. But I like the collection of races we have on tonight's show. We'll make stops at tracks we rarely visit.
I think one of the nicest things about this show is it keeps you informed on what's going around in the country that you might not normally know some horses, and especially as we head towards Saratoga, because some of these horses are going to show up in our stake races in Saratoga.
Well, if you want to make a mark and you want to go for big money, you got to show up in Saratoga. I like it. It's an eclectic mix of races, and a race that we're probably going to disagree about, and it's always good when we disagree.
Right, we'll do 10 races, 8 tracks. We'll bounce all over the country. We'll even make a trek north of the border to wrap up the show. But we start right here at Belmont Park, not far from where we are sitting on the National Racing Report. Small group of 5 fillies and mares contested in the 59th Bed of Roses on the main track. The break is key with the number 3 horse, Room for Me.
Yeah, I mean, Room for Me was going to be the only speed in this race had she broken. And once she doesn't come out of the gate, she loses all chance and the complexion of the race changes. The way she ran, I don't think it mattered. And I understand that Dame Dorothy's not a speed horse, so she ends up in the front. She's essentially a closer setting her own pace. But I got to tell you, Richie, I think this disease of slowing down paces is just getting worse and worse and worse around here.
Well, it's funny. I was watching the races from California last night and thinking how opposite the way races are approached and ridden in California as opposed to here, where you have an abundance of speed and people aren't afraid to use horses. And then here, they just walk around the racetrack, and it's really, I think you're right, it's hitting epidemic proportions.
It is, and I understand in here you have a closer on the front end in a race that doesn't have any speed, so it's going to be a slower pace. But we've got races where they're genuine speed horses, and they're being inhibited by their riders day in and day out here. And I don't think it's to the benefit of the racing in general, and I don't think it's the benefit of the horses, because I think it inhibits their best running style. But that's not the case here. We saw a very good throwdown in the stretch between one horse, Dame Dorothy, who's asserting herself as a leader in this division, against horse Street Story, who might be improving for Steve Asmussen.
Yeah, and listen, you got to give Javier Castellano a lot of credit here. He was very aware. Obviously, Room for Me was next to him. When she doesn't break, you knew on paper there's not a lot of speed in here. He wasn't afraid to allow her to run forward, at least get, take advantage of the situation.
Well, he had been in the Humana Distaff, Jay, where there was a race that had no speed on paper in there, and he got himself close enough to pace that he wouldn't be compromised, and I think he went into this race with the same mentality.
And it worked out. And she is a filly who's got a near-perfect record. I think she's 7 for 10 in her career for Todd Pletcher.
7 for 9.
Who's 7 for 9, excuse me. She's a 4-year-old filly by Bernardini going out and went out for the juggernaut of the Pletcher barn, who on Saturday was winning their 3rd consecutive 2-win afternoon. And we haven't even gotten to Saratoga yet.
No, these horses are running very well, and it'll be interesting to see where these horses go in Saratoga, because other than 2-year-olds, they'll have abundance of them. I wonder how many conditions he has left after this. But for Dame Dorothy, with obviously the Ballerina at 7 furlongs, as well as the Breeders' Cup Distaff at 7 furlongs, she's 4 for 4 at 7 furlongs. The going is going to get tougher, but she's a major player in this division.
And the filly and mare sprint, not to cut you off.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
what did I say?
Yeah, the BC Distaff.
Okay, yeah, but it's interesting. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, she got everything her own way yesterday on the lead, going 7 furlongs. Probably not the most comfortable position for her. I think she's going to be better when she gets legitimate pace, and she should in some of these races coming up.
At some point, there will be a race run somewhere, maybe even in New York, where there will be some pace, but I agree with you. While she was able to control this race, give a faster pace, and she might be better.
We do have a hot pace coming up, though, in the Roxolana Stakes, and we continue on with Fillies and Mares by Bernardini getting stakes wins on the show. From Dame Dorothy to a big upset winner at 25-1, who vied 3 wide and ran hard every step of the way.
Yeah, now you see a very fast pace at 6 furlongs at Churchill because there's a very long run-up. I'll tell you, if you bet this horse Fioretti, you spent the entire stretch going, wire, wire, and she does hold on.
Hey, absolutely, and she did it the hard way. She was parked out 3 wide, involved in the pace, ran hard every step of the way, and you see the Willow Hills, the runner-up. She's coming but the wire did get there.
No, and she had her chance to get up. In some ways, it's like a St. Liam and a commentator in that Whitney where people say, oh, Compay everything his own way. He didn't have everything his own way, and St. Liam had a little stretch to catch him. Same situation here. And I think that Willow Hour is a horse that I wonder if the connections are thinking about coming to Saratoga and trying the Honorable Miss. She's a lightly raced horse who's done well for Ben Colebrook, a trainer who a lot of people here aren't familiar with. He worked for Christophe Clement. He does a very good job. But Fioretti was having nothing and not letting her by.
Yeah, I was curious, too. I'm not familiar with this rider. I believe her name is Shannon Doyle. And I really... Sophie Doyle. Okay, excuse me. Thank you for correcting that. She finished really well on this horse. I mean, a really strong finish. And, you know, it's nice when you're not familiar with a rider and you see them put a ride up like this. It'll make you kind of learn who they are.
And it's also nice because you mentioned this, and I didn't even look at the riders, but in watching the race, sometimes when they're weaker riders, you notice that it's a rider. This rider looked just as good as any other of the top riders.
Yeah, she really did.
First ever stakes win for Sophie Doyle, so a National Racing Report congrats. And the same could be said for the trainer, Anthony Hamilton, and maybe they take a look at a race like the Honorable Miss and/or Ballerina. We see Kentucky shippers come to Saratoga all the time.
Well, she's an interesting horse because she was in $50,000 claimers last seen in the dirt, and she'd improved her form a little bit on turf and synthetic, but now she goes back to the dirt and she's even better. Maybe she's just an improved racehorse.
And that happens. Horses change. You know, our first idea of a horse isn't always the right idea.
Little Bernardini Cherokee Run, the pedigree of Fioretti as we head to the Jersey Shore. We'll keep it short. We'll stay with the fillies and mares as well, and we'll pick it up at a race they were running and gunning early on in a big late run from the eventual winner, Keep Crossing.
I tell you what, Wilmer Garcia had no problem sending when he was at Monmouth Park. He gets away from New York, and he's aggressive out front as he almost pulls the upset with a 24-1 Disco Chick. But Keep Crossing for trainer Larry Jones and Gabriel Saez just kept on coming.
Yeah, and once again, you know, Larry Jones and these fillies, he just seems to have a way with them. And Gabriel Saez back in that barn. He hadn't ridden for him for a long time, and now he gets an opportunity. Disco Chick ran tremendous. I've got to say it. Wilmer Garcia went to the whip before they even got to the quarter pole. I just don't understand that. You can let a horse run without making her go all in. Maybe she goes 44-1 instead of 43-4.
And is that a bit of a detrimental spot where, I mean, she was pretty much, as far as torque, on, I mean, maybe the most, you know, sharpest angle of the turn there right off the bend when he went to the stick on her.
Yeah, I was just surprised by it. I mean, you're still clear. I mean, I guess maybe you're trying to seal up and put as much distance as you can between you and the field. But I think at some point you got to give a horse an opportunity to breathe, and he was on her every step of the way. Now, that being said, that was the best race of her life, so maybe that's how she needs to be ridden.
Right, she wasn't going to win anyway. The winner won by 3. An interesting point. She did just hold on for second in there.
Homebred filly by Iston, who's been an okay sire for Brereton Jones, who bred and owns the winner, Keep Crossing. A lot more coming your way. Delaware Park, Woodbine, and D. Wayne scoring a nice upset in the Ohio Derby. Back here at Belmont Park, Sunday morning as we tape the show. A little wet outside. I do think our streak of not missing a single turf race came to an end on Sunday afternoon. We hope you hit that double pick 6 carryover. And with another weekend down, we're less than 2 weeks out from Stars and Stripes Day on 4th of July.
That's right, we are. We're coming up upon that, the 4th of July weekend. We've still got a month left here at Belmont Park.
It's exciting. It's nice to have that to look forward to before we jump into the deep end of the pool at Saratoga.
All right, let's get you back out to the racing action. They were running at Santa Anita Saturday afternoon, early Saturday morning. American Pharaoh jogged his first visit to the Santa Anita main track since getting back. I'll send it to you guys with these 3-year-old fillies in a roughly run into the first turn, Summertime Oaks.
They were rough into the first turn, but I'll tell you something about this winner, Stellar Wind. She changed her game a bit in here because the pace scratched out of here, and obviously the rider, Victor Espinosa, realized that. He puts her in the game from the start. I thought this was a much more impressive win than a lot of people might think.
I think so, too. I mean, she ran 1 1/8, basically. She was wide every single step of the way, and she kept fighting for it. And I agree. I mean, he had to, because of the pace dynamics of the race, go forward. It didn't work out very well, though, because the field stayed bunched up. And then he had the horse inside him trying to bear out, which didn't really affect him as much as it did another horse in the race. But I thought she was resolute, very game, and a very exciting horse race.
Yeah, it was an exciting race. I mean, you like to see good horses throwing it down like this and taking nothing away from Terrace Tango, who's obviously improved for Jerry Hollendorfer and ran well. But the thing about Stellar Wind that shouldn't be lost is that when you take a horse like her and take them out of their game and they force to play somebody else's game and have that wide trip, it's going to hinder their running style, yet she's still able to get the victory. She had a horse on her flank. She went after them early, and she still had the closing kick. To me, that's impressive, Richie.
I think it's very impressive. And you know what I say all the time. If you're going to be wide the first turn, you need to be able to save ground the second turn and vice versa. The problem is that she never had that opportunity, and it takes an exceptional horse to overcome being wide on both turns.
Now, looking at this 3-year-old filly division, we're just about halfway through the year, and maybe outside of Lady Eli on the turf, regarding the dirt horses, this is a division in disarray. I mean, there's a number of horses who are okay, but no, I don't think clear-cut leader.
And this horse is every bit is in the conversation as any horse in the country, and in some ways she's one of the leaders. Now, I know Lovely Maria, she won the big race, the Kentucky Oaks, but she's not even nominated for the Mother Goose. Larry Jones says he's training her up to him. One of them's going to run in the CCA Oaks, one of them's going to run the Delaware Oaks, the other one being I'm a Chatterbox, and theoretically both of them will meet in the Alabama. He says the one race before the Breeders' Cup Distaff, he will let them run together. There's talk of this filly coming to Saratoga. There really aren't dirt races for her in California, and I'm looking forward to it. I really hope she comes. I just love her. I think she's a really nice horse.
I agree with everything you say. I love her, too. The one thing that you have to look at, though, is John Sadler's record outside of California. He just doesn't seem to excel when he leaves the state of California.
Let me ask you a question. And that's true, and I obviously totally agree with that. You can't argue with that. Would you think it's in the best interest of filly like this to ship up to Saratoga early and maybe let her run in the Kentucky Club American Oaks, which comes the opening weekend, and then you've got 4 or 5 weeks until the Alabama, and you give her a chance to get acclimated? Maybe that'll help her chances.
Oh, I think that would help her chances immensely. I don't think he'll ever do that because he doesn't like to leave his comfort zone, which is Southern California. But I think if you wanted to make an impact or have a chance at the championship for 3-year-old filly honors, that would be the route you should take.
Well, what if there's a trainer that he's close to here that he could put that trainer in that person's barn, that horse in that person's barn, know they're getting good care, fly in occasionally to see her work, and see how she's doing? It just feels like she's that good a filly. She's a filly that could very easily be 3-year-old champion.
And no matter who shows up for the coaching club, she's no higher than 3 to 1, 7 to 2 at the biggest price, because her body of work before the Kentucky Oaks was very solid. She was the leading 3-year-old filly in Southern California. Another Grade 1 race on her resume heading into the Alabama, and you're right there in the Eclipse Award discussion.
You guys got me convinced. Now we got to convince John Sadler.
You take care of her.
Hopefully they'll do that. I mean, it's selfishly we like to see these good horses in our backyards, but it's probably in the best interest of the filly as well.
Yep.
All right, let's stay at Santa Anita. In fact, a little rolling double out in Southern California. We have got Saturday's Singletary Stakes, and we'll pick it up in progress. In fact, they are rolling into the far turn with big prices, 1, 2, 3, and 4. How'd you like to have that super box at this point in the race?
Well, what's interesting is, and you know it's going to come back as they're moving up front, and Mike Smith is letting this horse roll towards the front, ends up running last. The winner of this race, Soul Driver, who hasn't run in quite some time, I don't think he had run actually since the middle of March, a third in the Pasadena. He's a completely different horse. He buries this field, Richie.
He does. He buries this field. He looked like he broke off at the quarter pole the way he finished. And, his trainer, Jeff Mullins, had been saying that the horse wasn't right back in March. He actually kind of thought he lost his form, fell apart. He gave him the time. Well, he got him right, that's for sure.
I tell you what, I was extremely impressed with this horse, and I know that the going would get a lot tougher. I'm sorry this race is only 2 weeks out of our Belmont Derby, because this is a horse that I'm interested to see him take a step forward. I'm sure the connections are looking at the Delmar Derby later this summer at Delmar. No reason they shouldn't be. I don't know exactly what was behind him, and I doubt there are any superstars, but you don't win races like this in big fields in the turf by this much unless you can run a little bit.
Yeah, anytime you see that kind of separation in the turf race, I mean, because you see a lot of turf races, the whole field's covered by 4 or 5 lengths. I mean, he beat this field 4.5 lengths. This was a stellar effort.
Real good effort, and it feels like a while since we had a Jeff Mullins stakes winner on this show, a guy that used to rack up stakes wins left and right out in Southern California. And I noticed the winning owner, Bloom Racing Stable, they're the owner of Knuckle Curve, who scored that 102 buyer here last Sunday with Michelle Nevin, broke his maiden. He looks like a nice 4-year-old by Proud Citizen.
Definitely.
Interesting.
All right, let's continue on our little road trip here. We've got one race from Thistledown, a $500,000 purse in Saturday's Ohio Derby, and Mr. Z, they let him roll. Joe Bravo on the front, and he posted the upset, and D-Wayne was in attendance.
There's a lot to talk about in this race, but I'll tell you one thing that's very important to talk about. All the internet trainers that I've been reading that have been saying that Wayne Lucas needs to stop running Mr. Z and he needs a vacation, all these things. This horse just won $300,000 in the Ohio Derby yesterday.
I like the way you put that. Yeah, you know what? D. Wayne Lucas has made a Hall of Fame career by running horses. and he's successful because he's not afraid to run them. He doesn't leave them in the barn. He doesn't, give them that 6 weeks for no reason. I mean, he's a guy that has made his name by being bold.
And he also is not afraid to send horse to the lead. And Joe Bravo does a very good job going in the front. I thought that Manny Franco did a really nice job with Tensender getting into the pace, sensing it wasn't that fast. And then when Julian Leparoux sensed the same thing, and he sends Divining Rod towards the inside of Mr. Z, Manny's a little passive in letting him go, but I think he probably made the right move.
I don't think it was Manny's choice. I think Tensendor's a bit one pace.
Yeah.
And they kind of quicken there, and he just wasn't able to quicken with them. And if you go back and watch the Wood Memorial, I don't think he's a horse that wants to run the turns as freely. Like, you've got to go all in to get him to run around the turn. What was unsettling about Tensendor, and I think he would have got this, why didn't he change leads? I went back and watched all his races. He's never had trouble changing leads before, and he hung on his left lead the entire length of the
Very
stretch.
noticeable as well. That's
He's
the
on
one
the
thing
outside.
I picked up. Yeah, yellow cap outside with the black sleeves, and
Plugging
you could see
in.
him on that inside lead. Meanwhile, Divining Rod was the one that forced the issue from the inside. He didn't have an easy trip either. I mean, this was a pretty taxing trip for Divining Rod.
Well, he broke very well. They kind of took him back, and Julian decided to make that middle move. I think he made the right move in there, but let's just give a little credit to Mr. Z. And I got to say it again, and as you guys know, I haven't always given American Pharoah perhaps his due, but time and time again, we're seeing horses that have chased American Pharoah come back with big efforts.
Oh, absolutely. And this race was very reminiscent to me of that race at Los Alamitos last year, that Futurity, where I guess it was Dortmund.
It was Dortmund.
And
Dortmund,
Dortmund
yeah.
and
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Z right there. Now, the one thing that was nice to see with Mr. Z, too, he wasn't showing that habit of his of trying to get out. He was very straight. I mean, Joe kept him off the rail down the backside. And sometimes that's smart. You don't have to get into a fight with a horse to try to steer him back to the fence. Very game effort.
Nice race.
Jim Dandy, Haskell, Kings Bishop, a few other 3-year-old stakes
Probably
maybe for
with Wayne, all
Mr.
of
Z
them.
upstate. Absolutely. We'll be seeing D. Wayne with his usual Saratoga string in a few weeks. The Donald Levine Memorial. I like this race every year. It's a non-graded stake worth only $100K, but they get always a good group, like grizzled group of sprinters. It almost to me is like an extension of a race like the Toboggan, the Gravesend, going back to Pomanock. And what can you say? This horse AP Indian, who's by Indian Charlie, has been very good for Arnaud Delacour.
We had seen this horse at Monmouth, and just a few weeks ago we were commenting on how much speed he had cutting back from a distance race at Keeneland. I tell you something, Stall-Walking Dude has been running some very good races in New York. He never gives up, forcing the issue a little inside of him, though he was off the rail. AP Indian, it's 2 weeks out from that Belmont Sprint Championship. I won't be surprised when they decide to come to Saratoga and take a shot in races like the Vanderbilt and Forgo. This horse is very good, and this sprint division is wide open.
He's very good. And you know what? It's interesting. He has a stride more like a distance horse. He covers a lot of ground, and he goes fast, not looking like he's going fast. Those are your best kind of sprinters.
A very versatile horse, as we saw him run that good race at Keeneland where he was second to Transparent, the Kieran horse who doesn't seem to be able to win against stakes horses. So in that case, he beat a stakes horse.
And there's room near the top of the sprint division. You just don't know what you're going to get going forward from horses like Work All Week and Secret Circle. We hope to see AP Indian upstate. We have got 3 more races to take care of, and it's all Grand Motion all the time Saturday at Delaware with back-to-back stakes wins, including a 3-year-old who may be going places this summer. Charging down the stretch, or in this case, down the 9-furlong chute at sloppy Belmont Park. Things a lot drier on our third-floor studio. Beneath the bright lights, Jason Blewitt, Andy Serling, Richard Migliore. Rolling pick 3 remains, guys, so let's do it. We'll get you down to Delaware Park. Back-to-back races on Saturday, and up first, big field of fillies and mares who went long on the main track in their local prep for the Delaware Handicap.
We saw a horse a little bit earlier we talked about for trainer Jeff Mullins coming off a layoff and running big going long. We saw another one with Grand Motion for Lunatime. This horse hadn't run since mid-February. She came out running.
She really did. And, you could tell middle of the turn the way she was traveling. She was very much the horse to beat in spite of her price.
No, I thought she ran a very nice race in here. A big field and well ahead of him. The second horse, Montana Native. I'm sorry, Joint Return is second. Joint Return, I think, had been second, actually, in our Alabama last year. She's not a bad runner herself. John Service trains her.
Yeah, but this filly, she showed she likes Delaware Park, and I think that's key going to the Delaware Park Handicap. You want horses that show a fondness for this surface, because it can be a tricky track.
I agree. We just need to see how that Delaware Park handicap works out, 1.25 miles. Because Wedding Toast, I know it's a big purse. I have trouble seeing her going down trying 1.25 miles in that race. Is Untappable going to run in that race and try 1.25 miles? I haven't heard who's pointing towards it. Obviously, the personal ensign at Saratoga, 1.1 miles will see those horses. I almost wonder if they're more likely to prep in the 1.1 miles Shoe V up at, or whatever rate. What is it now? Is it the Shoe
It's the Shoe V, I think. Yeah, it used to be the go for one.
Interesting to see, because the 1.25 mile distance is going to be a question for some of those horses.
And it's a very tough race on horses because it's very hot that time of the year. It's a tiring racetrack, 1.25 miles. You see a lot of fillies and mares running there, and they have a little time to rebound. They need time to rebound.
Right, no kidding. No, that race is no stranger to big upsets. I think of Princess Silmar at 1-9 or so last year getting beat.
Well, she lost to a horse, Bella Gallanty, who showed herself to be legitimate as the year wore on.
Yeah, no kidding. Who a day later you could have had her half-sister or full-sister closing day of the summer meet for $20,000 in the claim box.
35 people wanted to have
There was a major shake. Let's stay at Delaware and Graham Motion. Well, on turf or dirt, Donworth was going to be pretty tough, and to his wish, the Stanton Stakes came off the turf on the main, and Donworth caused a big minor show pool, and this colt by Tisnow was pretty good.
I'd be curious to know if Graham had entered this race hoping it came off the dirt, because I can't believe he was immediately going to turf with Donworth. This horse has run too well in his races. He has been against it in both the Lexington and the Sir Barton, against the track in those races with very little experience. He meets a very easy field in here, and this is essentially a paid public workout. I am a fan of Donworth, and I think this horse is going to make his presence felt. Maybe we see him in the Curlin next. They move forward. The division behind obviously American Pharaoh, it's pretty open right now.
You've been a fan of this horse since the Bluegrass. I mean, not the Bluegrass, the Lexington. Before the Lexington, you like this horse a lot. And I agree with you. He's super talented. He had a lot thrown at him in a short period of time. But I think ability-wise, this race stamped him as a player. I think he's always had the ability. Maybe he's now finally catching up experience-wise.
And Graham Motion is not the kind of trainer that is going to throw a horse to the wolves unless he thinks he can handle it. And I don't think he was proven wrong, because the truth is, the winner, Divining Rod, is a good horse to be in the Lexington, and he had more experience, and he had a much, much easier trip. Donworth was chasing outside the day you wanted to be inside, while the winner and the second horse were both inside the whole way, or the winner and the third horse, I should say. Same trip in the Sir Barton as well. This is a horse that, with maturity, is going to catch up to his ability, and he's going to be very good.
And that paid public workout, just 2 100ths off a track record that stood since 1998, got a 95 buyer for the effort, and again, a Tisnow colt who we think the world of. Let's wrap things up. Field of 8 2-year-olds battled it out north of the border in Saturday's Victoria Stakes on the turf. I know there's plenty to talk about as they approach that long home stretch up at Woodbine.
Well, it's nice that we'll have the head-on of the stretch run to talk about, and I don't know that I completely disagree with Richie. One of the problems is you see the horse in the lead who gets placed first is lugging in badly with the rider, and I think that may have contributed to what you want to talk about a little bit. But there is contact between the two. They ended up disqualifying the horse in white. Richie thought, I didn't have as strong opinion as you. You thought it was a questionable call.
Oh, I watched it several times, and no doubt the eventual, well, the horse that was disqualified, Bellevue, he did put the eventual winner, Hollywood Hideaway, in tight. But I thought Hollywood Hideaway basically started the contact first. Now, all that being said, and I don't have a dog in the fight, personally, I think I would have left it alone because I thought the inside contributed to some of the contact. I thought there was some shoddy riding going on here. Eureka da Silva basically dropped his right rein at one point when he's supposed to be keeping his horse off that horse. By the time he recovered, some of the damage had been done. I thought Luis Contreras was so preoccupied with showing that he got bothered that he kind of hopped up at the wire. Well, maybe he would have got there anyway.
We don't have the direct head on, I guess.
Yeah, well, believe me, he put him in tight, but I also thought the inside horse started the contact. And the way I look at it, if you throw the first punch, you got a punch coming back.
Now, do you think that when you say started the contact, do you think some of it had to do with the fact that the horse was getting in on him and he was trying to straighten him out? Because don't forget, and I think you'll agree, and unfortunately we didn't see the head on, though you and I have seen it, there's about 3 or 4 paths separating when it first starts.
Oh, no doubt. And obviously he has no wiggle room. There's a fence there. He can't go in any further. But it was because the horse was lugging in. He pulled the horse out to get off the fence a little bit, made that contact. Now they get hooked up on each other. And I've just seen it time and time again when the horse that starts the contact then gets bothered back, they leave it alone. And I never thought he took all his ground. Yes, he was in very tight, but maybe that's when you just got to put your head down and go
Do you
forward.
think he exacerbated it late when he came in again that second time?
Right on top of the wire,
And that might have been what caused it to happen. Who knows what they were thinking? I hear what you're saying. I'm starting to see the head-on. They weren't the only ones that looked like they were a little uncomfortable in their mouths. I thought the sixth-place finisher deserved a better ride as well.
And that was by Konos.
Mykonos.
Who was 20-1 in there. Let's give some credit, though, to the horse that was placed first. I mean, this is a first-time starter who was running. There were 3 firsters in the 8-horse field, but still, that horse was very gritty and determined down inside, despite the fact he was lugging in and in so tight. The winner, by the way, 2-year-old Grey Colt by Sensational.
Yeah, I think that horse is bred by Bruce Lunsford, actually, and Bruce is listed as the owner here. I don't know that he's listed as... Oh, he is listed as the owner. He's a homebred for Bruce. Maybe we'll see this horse in Saratoga. I know Bruce likes to come there.
I mean, Hollywood Hideaway was very game. He did get put in tight. He never quit fighting. You got to give him a lot of credit first time out. And I saw something else that I wasn't going to bring up because it was very hard to show. There was a guy on the poly track inside there, on his hands and knees, doing something with the track, and I almost wonder if he didn't shy out from that horse a little bit and made the first contact because of that. And I watched it several times on the head-on last night, and I said, why is that guy down on the ground? Because horses see things low. It was very odd, and I just
strange
wonder.
time to be working on the track in that spot.
And I wasn't going to bring it up because it was like too hard to show, and maybe I shouldn't have.
Right.
But these are the things I see.
Go back and watch the head-on somewhere.
Seriously. We got a couple seconds. Liam's Map, Party at the Park Friday, 106 buyer for what was essentially, at least in the last 16th, a wrapped-up win over Confrontation. What do you think?
I think he's obviously a very talented horse. He's obviously got his share of issues, so how long he's going to be able to stay sound, and I hope he stays sound for 2 more years. He's a talented horse. I like him. I also like Confrontation, who ran second to him, because poor Confrontation gets compromised time and time again. In this case, Liam's Map is going slowly up front, and he's got to adjust to that. Yeah. Last time he tried to be aggressive because there didn't appear any speed, and they went inside and outside of him, and he set it up for tonalist. I feel like Confrontation is the one not getting a lot of credit, but Liam's Map's talented.
Well, he is very good Confrontation as well, and you could see when they turned for home, Liam's Map's got that acceleration. He was able to outfoot him at that point because he had everything his own way, and then he was cutting into the margin late, albeit Liam's Map was geared down somewhat.
He was. I just think Confrontation just keeps on fighting, and I don't want to take it away from Liam's Map. He was terrific.
Whitney next for him, we hope, $1.25 million, Saturday, August 8th, upstate at the Spa. As we close things down at Belmont Park over the next month, we'll have the Mother Goose recap, a big night at Prairie Meadows this coming Saturday, the Bashford Manor, the Debutante, all that and more next time on the National Racing Report. Have a great evening.